And for a final summary of open session thematic discussions, I invite Raymond Liboro to the stage.
It's been a fantastic morning. I guess nobody would disagree that it's been a productive, enlightening, and educational morning for everyone. I was standing over there and listening through the panel, and what really struck me was that attending the ICDPPC and attending all the sessions kind of remind me of one thing. And probably we should all be reminded on why we're here. It's because we are in the cusp of a revolution. It's a digital revolution. And it's sweeping across governments, it's sweeping across jurisdictions, touching the lives of all our citizens. Just like any other revolution, you have theories and practices on how a revolution would succeed or fail. Hearing about accountability, I've heard accountability countless times, but I never get tired of listening to accountability. As a regulator, I find it as a useful tool. We have actually embraced it in the Philippines as an approach and as a concept. We find it useful. But again, putting theory into practice is, I guess, one of the biggest challenges for any DPA. Definitely, accountability is a global standard. But what really struck me earlier was how Mr. Christopher Doxey sort of brought us back on the development of accountability. So year in, year out, you'll hear how accountability as a concept has developed. You heard about privacy management programs being born out of Hong Kong, Japan, and even in the Philippines. So definitely, accountability is a tool. It is a bridge to support the high standards of data protection. It is a tool for prioritization, as Mr. Daniel Ferrin said. But it's definitely not a silver bullet. And nobody has a sole monopoly of holding the key towards accountability. But I guess that's what the challenge of the DPAs, us DPAs here. We must have that savvy now on how to use all these tools in our toolbox to be able to execute our mandate and the people's expectation on us. What also struck me during the last minute of the last panel's discussion was the enumeration of the items that's really seething in your minds. And the most important thing, I heard about DPIA, breach notification. These are all operational accountability concepts that is very much, again, that's keeping us awake at night. So what we must really, I think, realize that accountability is a right thing. But doing the right thing right, or how to do the right thing right, I guess, is another thing. And that's what the second panel actually discussed. Use cases are very important for DPAs. We learn a lot from them. And we've heard it from Microsoft on how building technical infrastructure helps them in their own advocacy within the organization, how processes like mediation services, engagement and partnerships, and the concern of developing that hybrid professional that would also be important as we face this revolution. I guess what is important to realize, and then, I really feel something in common with the Belgian authority. Our authority in the Philippines is also, quite new, third year in existence. We took baby steps, of course, and we're still doing that. But as an authority, all these toolbox, all these kits that we have learned this week will be very useful. But also, apart from the toolbox, we also need the cheat sheet. And I do that. I cheat a little. I would call Stephen Wong sometimes and John Edwards, because we definitely do not have the answer for all the questions, even the questions my people ask. So we should learn to accept that we are, of course, then we are faced with the reality of having minimal resources, and definitely they're all in chorus saying that resources will never be enough. Yes, definitely resources will never be enough. But if you have friends like Stephen Wong, John Edwards, Liz Denham, and who are not in any way selfish in sharing their experiences, then it makes our job quite easier. We should not reinvent the wheel. You know, this conference, we accepted a lot of new members. There's so many members who would like to sign up and join us in the conference, and I expect more jurisdictions and authorities and entities to join the ICDPPC in the near future. And like us, they will also undergo taking baby steps, rookies, tyros, as data protection regulators. So there's a lot to be done. But again, bridging theory and practice, creating that praxis that will make us effective is definitely always a priority. But we should realize, then again, that in all this revolution has actually changed a lot of things for us. And most importantly, it has changed our customers, our data subjects. We are now in a now generation where people expect more from their authorities, right? In my case, for example, a complainant would expect that a resolution will be had the next day. It's something to be understood. I mean, everything now can be downloaded so that even our customers, our data subjects thought that they can download results immediately. It really puts a lot of pressure on DPAs, even small, most especially those in jurisdictions that are not that big. That's why, again, we should not stop in building capacity. That's the underlying theme of the second panel. As we deal with 21st century risks, threats, and harms. And as I always say, these 21st century risks, threats, and harms need 21st century skills, mindsets, and competence. And as a conference, we should continue building on that, these 21st century skills, mindsets, and competence. There's one thing with data privacy risks, as opposed to natural risks, is that privacy risk, I find, is man-made. They can be prevented and they can be mitigated. So data privacy and protection, while it is a very sound principle, like the bedrock of where we stand, it is a skill that can be learned and which everyone should try to learn. So let me end by saying that again, this conference reminds us that in protecting data, behind those ones and zeros are actual human beings, and they rely on us to help them prevent 21st century risks, threats, and harms. I'm always reminded about what Giovanni Buttarelli, the late Giovanni Buttarelli, would always say, that in today's world, it's not only hardware that should matter, definitely not only software that should matter, but as a regulator, we have to continue promoting moralware. Moralware, that really says a lot. Anyway, just to end, please allow me just to make a shameless plug of some activities happening this afternoon, and I would like to invite you to this activity later at the Rogner Hotel. It's an invitation for raising awareness and capacity building of personal data protection in Asia. So you will hear, well, messages from Hong Kong, from the Philippines, and also Korea. So you'll learn more about how we raise awareness and build capacity. That was also the topic of Trevor earlier. You'll definitely learn about the Hong Kong style, the Philippine style, and the Gangnam style of privacy later. Also, another shameless plug, there will be an event. It's about AI and data protection to be hosted by Beijing Normal University. So, those of you who are interested in what's going on in China would probably want to attend that particular event. So with that, let me thank you for giving this opportunity. Thank you very much.